Live from the campus of Southern University, it's the Bottom Line TV show, bringing real truth to today's problems. And now, your host for the Bottom Line TV show, Mr. Bruce Walker.
Welcome back to the continuation of last week's show when we had Brother Ashanti Witherspoon here. He was blessing us last week, and he's about to continue to bless us. Join us. Welcome to this week's Bottom Line, which is a continuation from last week's Bottom Line. And here again, if you missed it last week, we're here today with Pastor, brother, friend, Ashanti Witherspoon, who is a young man who has managed, who originally reigned from Chicago, but had a 75-year sentence in Angola and presently sitting here on the couch at the Bottom Line. And from what I understand, he's spoken at Harvard, to the Black Caucus, at the White House, and we got him here to understand, how does a man come from such area of devastation to make it all the way to where he is today. So without further ado, Brother Ashanti Witherspoon, thank you for continuing this conversation. And for those of them who didn't see the show last week, take a little minute and tell them a little bit about who Brother Ashanti Witherspoon is.
All right. Just like I mentioned last week, I'm originally from Chicago. Came from a decent family. Then the family became a broken family. And the pain in my heart led me to crime in the street. I became involved in a gang, which began to expand, and I became one of the leaders of the gang. I could handle myself well as a young person because I was a martial artist. And as the gang continued to expand, it became a larger criminal organization. Eventually, I left Chicago on a run in July of 1971 for criminal charges and came through Shreveport, Louisiana, committed a robbery, which led to a shootout with the police. 2 law enforcement officers were shot. My co-defendant was shot once in the stomach with a shotgun, and I was shot twice, once through both legs, and other bullet hit me on the right side of my face and traveled upward and stopped within my head. 9 months later, I was sentenced to serve 75 years without the benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence, in which I entered Angola at a time when it was classified as one of the bloodiest prisons in the nation. And I ended in the term I like to use for myself because I wasn't totally militant and I wasn't totally criminal, so I call myself a criminal militant. But once in Angola, my life began to transform to total militancy because of the condition. The condition was so deplorable. There was so much corruption there. And I began to focus on this system that was there. And eventually I gave my life to the Lord. I had to go on a hunger strike to get out. I was locked up with 2 knives in my possession, went to maximum security, learned law, became a jailhouse lawyer, gave my life to the Lord. Then I had to go on a hunger strike because nobody believed that I had changed. Nobody believed. I went on a hunger strike and was released back in the population. And then there were the challenges that were there because people still didn't believe that I'd changed. And I became involved in every education program that time would allow and allow my leadership skills to be developed. And as I developed my skills, I began to help other people develop theirs and follow a new line and a new direction for their lives.
Amen. Shante, most men don't never make it out Angola, no less than go on to visit the White House, to speak at Harvard and things like that. And, that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm sure our audience is interested in, is how does a man have his life transformed from being a menace to society to such an advocate for Christ? What happened?
Well, during a course, and when you're in prison, it doesn't matter if you're living a negative lifestyle or a positive lifestyle. There's still the challenges, the ups and the downs. And so, but you stay focused. The first thing is staying focused. I got into the Word. I got into a lot of self-development programs. I read a lot of self-development books. Uh, And I began to utilize every ounce of my time. First was to develop myself. And as I was beginning to develop, to reach out and to help my fellow men who were around me to develop them, as I conquered a part of myself that was really holding me back, then I could see somebody else who was struggling with the same thing, and I would reach and help them. Get involved in this program. Get involved with this public speaking program. Get involved with this anger management program. Get involved with this transactional analysis program. Study this word. So you included, it was a combination of things. Study this word. There are principles in here that all of these other books were written from. But we've just got to deal with them and study them. And as I began to live that life and put all of these things into practice, and most important, stay focused. Amen. Because whether you're in prison or whether you're in society, there's so many things that the world will bombard you with that will throw you off your base. And I didn't have a perfect focus, but I stayed focused. Amen. I want to say that again. I didn't have a perfect focus, but I stayed focused, and that's what allowed me over these humps. And as I began to develop more, I started a number of organizations. I was involved with a number of organizations. I became a magazine writer, a magazine editor, was involved in all sorts of programs. I became a minister, a teacher, a counselor.
So wait, all of this is why you're incarcerated.
This is while I was
in
incarcerated, right? So in the process, now remember, I stayed in prison 27 and a half years. So this didn't happen overnight. Amen. But I want to go back to one thing: staying focused and getting into that word, the word of God. That began to really help me to deal with pain, because there's pain regardless of where you are. I wanted to be with my family. My family's in Chicago. I wanted to be in society doing things, and as ideas would come up, as I would remember dreams that I had from early childhood, and I said, man, I can't do these things now because I'm serving a 75-year sentence. That brings about a little pain when you look at TV and you see somebody who you knew when you were a child, and they've got a national TV program. That brings about pain. You think about how stupid you were, the bad mistakes and decisions you made that let you end up in prison, but you stay focused. You keep pushing. You stay in the word. And after 20 years, I had been doing so well in prison. After 20 years, we had developed a CPR team teaching people who used to take lives how to save lives. And it had such an impact all over the prison. So one day the warden sent word and said, man, how would you like to travel outside of the prison and teach some rookie firemen CPR? I thought it was a joke at first. I mean, if a person thinks about they want a desire to become a fireman one day, the first thing they learn is CPR. Even before they make out any application, I like to go to fireman's training school. The first thing they learn is CPR. So I thought this was a joke. They want us to go out and teach rookie firemen. But the warden said, I want to show the world that people who used to live lives of crime and now they have changed their lives and they're saving lives. I mean, that people can really change if God is a part of their life. And we went out, let me just say one quick thing. We went to LSU Fireman's Training Academy, and it was so awesome until the firemen refused to believe that we were from Angola.
What? That's a testimony in itself right there. We got to take a short break. Don't y'all move. We coming right back, and we're going to get into some more brothers Ashanti's testimony. And what I want to know is, how do you get so blessed to come from a 75-year sentence to being such an advocate for the community presently? That's what we want to know. Don't y'all move. We'll be right back.
Louisiana Laserderm. We are a cosmetic laser facility and treat all skin types and colors and specialize in African American skin. We offer hair and tattoo removal. Do you want to get rid of that stubborn fat and cellulite with our new Venus Freeze? Men and women, come in, get rid of those irritating ingrown hairs and razor bumps on your face or anywhere on the body with just one hair removal treatment. Call Louisiana Laserderm at 490-9090 and check out our monthly specials on Facebook and online at lalasderm.com.
See the entire Tag Heuer collection today at Elgin's Fine Jewelry.
Let First Choice entertain you. Get a 42-inch flat screen HD TV, audio bar, and Blu-ray player with Wi-Fi for just $19.99 a week. Plus, get a $6 Redbox gift card as long as you rent. Come to any First Choice location for details or go to firstchoicerto.com.
Welcome back to the Bottom Line. And if y'all just joining us here again, we're here with brother Ashanti Witherspoon. And, you know, in the last segment, Ashanti, you was telling us how you got out the prison for the first time when you went to teach some rookie firefighters how to do CPR. And I'm quite sure that left a burning desire for you to get out there permanently. So if you would, tell us, how do you go from a 75-year sentence to walking out of Angola and not looking back?
Well, I look back. That's the thing. I look back because when I look back because I'm going in to minister, to train, to teach, and to help those who are similarly situated to me get out and do the same thing so that their gifts can be used out here in the world for God.
Amen.
But once I started traveling, you know, it started with the CPR team. Then after that, the firemen who were there had to talk to the people in their fire departments, and they wanted us to start coming out because they were doing community programs with at-risk youth. They were teaming up with the DARE programs, with suspension programs, and what have you. And they were bringing at-risk youth there, so we were giving our testimonies. That created a bond between us and the young people. And then we taught them CPR. And we became mentors of a lot of those young people from Angola. And then we began to travel more and more. Then certain ones of us, they would call us out to school so we can go speak in a school individually or speak at a conference or do some sort of training, because we also had an HIV/AIDS peer education team. So we spoke at a number of health conferences. And we were speaking at schools, we were speaking at universities. And before you know it, we were on the street on the average of 15 and 17 days out of a month, traveling all over the state.
That's what I'm about to say. Seems like you done got to the point now where you spending more time on the outside of Angola than actually inside Angola.
Oh yeah, there were periods of time when that's the way it was. We were going back to Angola to sleep. And the beauty of it was we were able to touch so many different lives. And like I said in last week, when I would look in the lives of some of these young people, I could see the depth that was there. And as we spoke, as we ministered, we gave our testimony, I could suddenly see a light come alive. And I knew that we've been able to reach them. And so we just continued to travel, continued to speak, and I continued to do great things in prison. And as I continue, like I say, as I developed my life, I was always developing the lives of other people. I'm an encourager. I love to encourage people to fulfill the destiny that God has in their life. And then in the 25th year, something miraculous happened. I was asked to be in a documentary called The Farm, Life Inside Angola Prison. It was nominated for an Academy Award, shown all over the world, and tens of thousands of people started writing to the president, governor, pardon, and parole board, wanting to know why I was still in prison, why I was not in prison. I was traveling to society. I was doing good works in the prison, and they were asking this question. And you know something? Warden Kane used to always ask the parole board the same question. Why is it you won't grant this man a rehearing? Okay, remember I was sentenced to 75 years without the benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. But a law came into effect that said any person who is serving a sentence of 30 years or more, not a life sentence, but 30 years or more, once you have served at least 20 years and reached the age of 45, that you should be at least granted a parole hearing. Well, I had my first parole hearing in 1974. I had already started traveling. It was denied because the law enforcement officers had been shot. Even though I was doing great works, you know, that was like a stigma that was against me. And then so every time I filed for a rehearing, I was denied. I was consistently denied. Consistently denied. And if you watch the documentary The Farm, because there's two of them now, but the original was The Farm, Life Inside Angola Prison. If you watch it, you'll see where I was denied. And it continued on, but the people wanted to know why I was still in prison. And Warden Kane, every time the parole board would come up, he would always ask, when are you going to grant him a rehearing? When are you going to grant him a rehearing? Whenever you all grant him a rehearing, I want you to call me so that I can testify on his behalf. I said, you know, because Warden Kane had been doing so much work in Angola, especially working with all of those of us who had been locked up a long time and who were leaders in prison, who he felt once we returned to society that we were going to do great works and continue with everything that we were doing and be able to reach back, help those who are still in prison, and be able to help people in society. And finally, after the showing of the first documentary, I was granted a rehearing.
Mm.
And on June 18th, 1999, they set me free.
So, how did it feel the day you got to walk out, Ashanti?
You know, the beauty of it was if my legs had still been as strong as they were when I was this 22-year-old martial artist, being able to jump and do a backwards flip and land, I would have done that. But if I had done it at that particular time, I might have landed on my head.
Well, you don't need nothing else to happen to that head since you still got a bullet up there from
That's right.
from your police shootout.
Yeah.
Now, we got to take a short break right here, Shantae, but when we come back, it's a lot of people out there, I'm quite sure, who's going to want to reach out, who's going to want to have you come speak to some people that they're responsible for, and we want to give them that opportunity. So y'all get y'all pens and y'all papers. We're going to be right back, and Shantae is going to tell you a little more about himself because, you know, since he's left Angola, he's been to the White House. He's an international speaker. He's a motivational speaker. He done spoke to the Black Caucus, and I'm quite sure it's a even greater list of accolades that he could say about himself. So y'all get y'all pen and y'all paper, and we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Reverend A.J. Johnson with Baton Rouge AIDS Society. For the past 2 years, Baton Rouge has been #1 in the country with the highest rate of AIDS cases. And 2 years before that, we were #2 in the country. My thing is, let's be part of the solution and not the problem. Get tested, get your results, and get on with your life. If you think you don't have time to get tested, call 923-AIDS at Baton Rouge AIDS Society and become part of our Anytime Testing Program. We test 24/7, 365. No needles, no blood, and get your results in 20 minutes. Get tested and know your results.
See the entire Tag Heuer collection today at Elgin's Fine Jewelry.
For 20 years, First Choice has made your life better with our great selection of brand name furniture, electronics, and appliances at flexible payment plans to meet any budget. And at First Choice, there are no credit checks, no one's refused. Come into any First Choice location or shop online at firstchoicerto.com.
Welcome back to the bottom line, and I hope y'all have y'all pens and y'all paper, and you know time flies when you're having fun because, you know, this last hour, these last couple of weeks seem to have went so fast, Brother Shante, and you know, I know you're a busy man now that God has given you your freedom, and one of the things I want you to do is actually give us an update on what Brother Ashanti is presently doing. I know you still go back in Angola and minister in that fashion to those brothers because we was just on the team in November. But tell us some of the stuff that you are doing as a servant since you've been home.
It's a lot.
I know it is. I know it is. But to much is
right.
given, much is
That's
respected.
right.
So you got a lot to give back, brother. So tell us a little bit about Brother Shante now that he's a free man.
Well, as you know, as you've mentioned, you know, I'm a motivational speaker. I was granted my passports several years ago, and I've been overseas speaking and speak with ministries, going to prisons all around the country, not just Angola. I go into hunt, at least I guess about every 45, 60 days to speak to the pre-release program where I'm able to talk to the people who are returning to society. I'm involved with re-entry, you know, primarily on a one-on-one basis because a lot of the people, I understand who they are, especially if they don't have families. And then, you know, they have a Baton Rouge area reentry coalition. I do a little work with them. And usually I send I refer people to them. I've even been asked to appear before the parole board now, to talk in behalf of some of the long-term inmates. And I serve as part of some of the long-term inmates transitional teams to help them walk through their challenges, because even though a person might have had everything together while they were in prison, there's still challenges you got to deal with in society. If you're locked up 25, 30, 35, 40 years, you might have it together now, but when you step out, it's like, wow.
You don't even know about the internet. You don't
That's
even know
right.
about the smartphone.
That's right. Look,
It's a lot of stuff you don't know about if you've been locked up 25 years,
when I first
Shante.
got out, they gave me my cell phone back then. It was little flip phones, and I had a little antenna still. Man, I felt like I had power just because I had a cell. Everybody else was out here. It was nothing to them, but it felt. And I would look at that phone, and I would try to learn how to work that phone. And once I got the basics, I was cool. When I got my when iPhone came out, and I got my iPhone, we were in Aspen, Colorado. The second documentary I was in, the Farm 10 Down. We went through I went to a number of the film festivals. We were in Aspen, Colorado, and no, we were in Telluride. That was before we went to Aspen, Telluride, Colorado. And my daughter called me from Chicago, and she said, "Daddy, when you gonna send me some pictures?" And I had this camera around my neck, and I was taking all these. I said, "I'm gonna send them to you as soon as I get back to the hotel. I'm gonna plug it in to the computer." And she said, wait a minute. Don't you have an iPhone?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But how do you send?" I took a lot of pictures on it. I said, "But how do you send a picture?" She said, "Daddy." He said, "Okay, hold it. Is there an 8-year-old around you somewhere?" And I looked and I said, "Yeah, there's the producer's 8-year-old." Tallulah said, ask her to show you how to send these pictures. I asked this 8-year-old, and she put it in. After all, I can hear something say, "Zoop, zoop, zoop." And she said, "I'm getting them now, Daddy." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Tallulah, what did you do?" She said, "Oh, Mr. Shante, just do such and such." I said, "Can you repeat that?" "Oh, Mr. Shante, just do such and such." She had to repeat it to me several times so that it would stick. But it was so interesting. They're born into this technology, so there's so many things. So like I was saying, I help them through their transition period. And they have other organizations in Baton Rouge, like the Baton Rouge Area Reentry Coalition and the Louisiana Reentry Coalition, but so I do a lot of that. We go in, I do mentoring. I'm in and out of jail, and I speak at drug court. I speak at drug court graduations all the time, all around the state and over in Texas and Mississippi.
Amen.
And like you said, I've been to Harvard. The second documentary that came out, which is a sequel of the first, The Farm Life Inside Angola Prison. The second one is The Farm 10 Down, or 10 years later. It was a filming up there, or a screening up there, and I was invited to speak. And we spoke. That was an awesome experience. Spoke before the Congressional Black Caucus concerning youth crime, violent crime, mass incarceration. And the same thing took place. And then this year, I had the honor of being invited to the White House, and I represented PICO. PICO is a national organization that deals with community issues, ex-offender issues. We aren't called ex-offenders on another level. We're called returning citizens. Amen. So everybody who's out there listening to this, remember, we are returning citizens, not ex-offenders.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so I was invited to the White House, and it was the first time that a group of returning citizens was invited to the White House to speak to the president's staff. And we talked about mass incarceration. We dealt with long-term confinement and mandatory sentences, reentry, and a problem that we're facing today with police-community relations. And you know what's so interesting about this overall situation? Some of my best friends now are police officers. The sheriff of East Baton Rouge Parish, good friend of mine, Sid Gotro. Amen. The chief of police of Baker, the city that I live in. The chief of police, Mike Snapper Naps, good friend of mine. And I can go all over the state, and there's district attorneys who are here. They're good friends of mine. And it all started years ago when I was traveling into society, speaking in schools and community centers. A number of the people were in their departments, but we kind of grew up together over the years with the speaking engagement. And now they're running parishes and they're running cities and so forth. And we have this relationship. And if they need me, I go and we work together on trying to solve these problems in crime.
Brother Shante, in close, this is what I got to say about a brother like you after sitting here and admiring your plight and your testimony. they're going to take a whole lot of people to repair this broken world.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to need some ministers. And they're going to need some ministers that has been to the seminary. And there's going to need some ministers that have been to the cemetery. And you know, you represent those ministers that have been to the cemetery, which Angola is where death lives a lot of days, and been able to walk through death and now provide life. And you know, you are the type of ministers that we're going to need to reach our young men that most ministers can't reach. So I pray a mighty prayer for you, brother, that God continue to use you in this medium here at the Bottom Line. If you ever needed to bring forward whatever God lays on your heart to bring forward, you always welcome here. Once again, thank you for coming out, sharing that wonderful testimony with us. And for those out there looking, tell them how to get in touch with you, Brother Shante. You know, because somebody might want you to come speak. Somebody might want you to come just put their child in a headlock. I know you ain't got no problem with that. So tell them how to get in touch with you before we leave.
Okay. There's several ways. One, you can email me, Ashanti Witherspoon at yahoo.com. Second way, you can visit one of either of two websites. One is AshantiWitherspoon.com. That's AshantiWitherspoon.com. And then you have the ministry that my wife and I have. It's called the Society of Servant Leaders.
Amen.
You can reach us at the societyofservantleaders.com. And you can visit the website. You can see it. You can contact us through the website. You can contact us through either one of those mediums, and we will contact you back shortly. And if you would like to even donate, you know, we're a tax-exempt organization, 501c3. Anybody who would like to donate to what we're doing, it will be very helpful to the ministry. And recently, a friend of ours who was a pastor in Lafayette, he died, and we're pastoring his church. It's at Wright Road Christian Center in Lafayette, Louisiana.
So they could also find you down there.
They can
Because this
find me
goes
down
out
there.
to Lafayette as well. So we can
All right.
find you in Lafayette
You
as
can
well.
find us in Lafayette.
Shante, again, man, thank you for coming out. God bless you. And we wish you many years of servitude out there in the kingdom. Thank y'all for joining us. And that's the Bottom Line.
Video by TMB Productions, shot on the campus of Southern University. Set provided by First Choice Furniture. Contact the Bottom Line at contact@thebottomlinetvshow.com. This has been an AG production.